missing is Mr. Karasik. Are you ready to proceed, Kathleen?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay. Yes.
All right, Rick. So we'll just give it a minute for you to go live, okay? Go ahead and let us know, Rick, when we're ready to go. Usually takes him a minute to. Okay, Rick, are you ready to go?
Okay, thank you. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the regular scheduled meeting of the Montclair Historic Preservation Commission. Notice has been given in accordance with the Open Public Meetings Act by posting a copy of this notice on the first floor of the municipal building and by sending a copy to the Montclair Times, the Star Ledger, and the Herald News. And it should be noted that it's June 18th. We're meeting the third week of June, not the fourth week of June, at the request of our secretary. Our next meeting, however, will be the fourth week in July. Being that we are in the time of COVID, this is being broadcast. This is a remote meeting, and it is being broadcast on live YouTube broadcast link. You can also view it on TV 34 and the Montclair Government YouTube. To participate, if anyone wants to call in, you can access the Cisco WebEx meeting at the link, which is provided on the Montclair Township website. And you can also call in if anyone has any, I'm trying to find the number. If anyone has, oh yes, to participate by telephone, please call 1-408-418-9388 and enter the access code 717-932-299. While on the telephone, you can view the meeting presentation on TV 34, on your cable TV, or through Montclair Government YouTube.
And just to supplement that, there's a scroll at the bottom of the TV 34 broadcast showing the telephone number as well.
Okay, great. Thank you. Thank you. Graham, could you please call the roll?
Sure. Chair Bennett.
Present.
Vice Chair Hyman. Oh.
Present.
Jason, can you hear?
Yeah, he said present.
Oh, okay.
Mr. Rooney.
Here.
Ms. Kane-Levy.
Present.
Mr. Greenbaum.
Here.
And Mr. Reimnitz is excused this evening. Okay, and we're awaiting Mr. Karasik.
Okay, well, we can proceed. The next order of business is the approval of minutes, the approval of the minutes from the May 28th, 2020 meeting. Graham has provided them. They're on the screen. Does anyone have any comments on this or suggestions, addendum of what you see on the screen? Why don't we start with Mr. Hyman? Did you have anything to add?
Revisions.
Okay. Ms. Kane-Levy?
No revision.
Mr. Rooney?
No revisions.
And Mr. Greenbaum?
No revisions.
Okay. The one thing that I'm concerned about is the Watchung Avenue new business approved with conditions. There are 4 conditions there, and there's no mention of the awning, of which we spent quite a bit of time on. And I think that one of the conditions was about the awning, especially since it was to be a color that they wanted to use as their brand, which is not consistent with our guidelines, and also with the soft edge, which
Oh, the scout.
the scalloped edge, right, the soft edge. So can we add that, Graham, number 5?
Well, I guess with so the conditions are modifications to the presentation. So the applicant, as presented the white awning with the scallops the commission approved. So unless their condition is modifying that approval, I don't think that we should incorporate a condition that would change what they submitted and what the commission approved.
Okay, because that would be the same with the what we're going to vote on at the end of the meeting. All right, I just wanted to make that clear, that everyone's aware of that and it's on the record. Okay, thank you.
Motion to approve.
Yes, motion to approve.
Okay, by Mr. Rooney. If you need a second,
Second.
Mr.
All in
Greenbaum.
favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay.
Okay.
And while we're on the minutes, Graham, I just wanted to point out, I know I've asked you this before, but the minutes that are available on the website, on the township website, are only the first 3 months of this year. They don't include, I guess, March and April. So if you could just look into that again.
Just confirm.
Next online is public comment.
Well, we did not have a March meeting, just to clarify, and the April minutes are posted. They're here.
Oh, they're there. Okay. Okay. All right.
And we did not have a March meeting due to the initial onset of the COVID emergency.
Okay. All right. Great. Thank you. Thank you for clarifying that, because somebody pointed that out. The public comment. Is there any public comment?
I don't see any members of the public participating or called in by phone. Everyone here so far is representing applications this evening.
Okay, great. Thank you. Committee reports. Design, review, and development. Mr. Rooney, is there anything?
We had a meeting on Monday for the DRC, but the notice didn't go out correctly. So
Oh,
we had to postpone it until the 25th.
okay.
That was for the Montclair Brewery.
Okay. Thank you.
Mhm.
Thank you. Education and outreach. Facebook site, Graham, that we had talked about at the last meeting. Do you have an update on that?
So we're working through, we're kind of in a holding pattern with new communication platforms given the transition in administration. So I think it's something that we're probably going to have to work through as the new administration comes on board and the new communications team is set up, all these revised communications plan. So we're kind of in a process phase. Our department is doing our due diligence to just make sure, we have the ability to back up. We have a requirement as a government entity, we have to back up and have a storage of all social media platform postings. So we're exploring that and getting that material set up. And then once the new administration is seated, then we'll work through and establish the new Facebook page. So.
Okay, so we're looking at something in the fall that if it happens, it will happen in the fall.
Probably.
Correct?
Probably.
Okay, great. All right, good. Which leads me to the next thing, the Preservation Awards, which were lost in the Corona shuffle. So I propose, pardon?
Can I just interject on the Education Committee? May I make a comment or a suggestion for discussion, perhaps for a future meeting, but relating to education?
Sure, yes.
So I was having a conversation with someone the other day, and they thought this was something, they suggested this, and I thought it was a very good idea. And first, I'm going to ask Graham a question. Graham, when an application comes into the planning office and the application requires HPC adjudication, does the applicant receive any kind of literature or anything that kind of gives them an introduction to what the HPC does and kind of what the expectations are and what our role is and what the goals we have in terms of, within our purview? Is
We
there anything?
refer all applicants pending before the HPC to the historic design guidelines, which include the description of the commission, its purview and role, and then also details on all proposed types of modifications for historic structures. We typically go through a process prior to even the filing of the application. Many potential applicants reach out to the department and we provide that information. I'm going through a number of conversations to that effect at this time for a couple of upcoming projects, storefront rehabilitations in the Bloomfield Avenue corridor. So that is pretty much standard operating procedure for the department, is to provide that education and information to applicants before they even do their filing.
May I ask you, is that something you point them to?
Historic design guidelines.
Right. But do they get a printed copy, or they're just handed a?
It's on the website.
Entire historic design guidelines is on the website, and the table of contents is even hyperlinked, so you can go through the document and click right to your section, and it takes you right there.
But no, that's great. No, that's perfect. But I think it was suggested that maybe it might be helpful if there was like a printed single sheet of paper that kind of gave them an introduction with all the.
Okay. That's a good idea, and that's something, Mr. Greenbaum, that we've talked about to initiate this year, especially to hand out to the realtors in town. That would be something that they would appreciate. And we have talked about that in the past. So the Education Committee, we can look into that for our next meeting. So Steve, Mr. Greenbaum, would you like to be part of that?
I mean, I'm happy. My only suggestion is that we probably have all the content. It just needs to be, distilled into a single page kind of color slick, like single page slick that gets stapled to,
Okay. So why don't we discuss that in committee, and that we could present it to the entire board so we can move on with the meeting.
Sure.
So getting to the Preservation Awards. I think which were lost in the COVID crisis. The Preservation Awards will be opened, and we should do Preservation Awards for this year, for last year, 2019. Obviously, we've missed the May cutoff, but I think that if we have the publicity and put it online, follow the format that we did in the previous years, I think we could certainly do this and have an award ceremony. I was thinking of September. I think August people are gone. September, we might be able to start the new year. I'd like people's reactions to that. Is that, people think that that's a good idea? We should proceed with that?
We usually do it in January. When do we normally?
No, we usually do it in open it up in the end February, and then we give the awards in May. But this year, because everything was closed, it got lost in the shuffle. So I'm proposing we open it up tonight and award it in September, which would be for last year. And then next year going forward, we open it again in February and keep to the Preservation Month, which would be the year for 2020 next year.
I think that's a great idea.
Okay, does anyone have any objections or any other comment?
And if I may make a suggestion, I'm just kind of thinking ahead. If we have an application filing deadline of, I'm just looking at a calendar, Friday, August 14th, that'll give us about a month and a half to go through the submitted responses and have the committee select the awards.
What day did you say, Graham? I didn't hear that.
I was thinking Friday, August 14th or the end of August. Do you want to do August 28th?
No, that's too late. Let's do it the week before, please.
So the 14th of August?
Yes, that sounds good.
Okay. Yeah, that gives an open period of about 2 months to submit the application. So.
Okay, great. Thank you. Minor applications. Mr. Heineman, did we meet for, we met once, didn't we, for minor applications?
Yep. I don't believe we met since our last meeting.
Okay. And then revisions.
I do have one application, though, and we'll be scheduling a meeting probably in the next week. So.
Okay, for the future. And then revisions committee. I don't think we had a revisions committee. We haven't yet, have we?
We had one remote review of roofing material at 48 Label Street.
Oh, that's right. And that was resolved. Okay.
The only other issue that I would like to mention is the Landmark Nominations Committee. We have a meeting scheduled next Tuesday with the consultant for the estate area survey work. So we'll be meeting to kick off that process for them to do the survey of the estate area on Tuesday of next week.
Great, and that's at 1 o'clock, right,
1
Graham?
o'clock.
Yes.
Okay, great. While we're on committee reports, I'd like to draw everyone's attention to Mr. Conley's report. Where is it?
Oh, Jason, hang on, Kathleen. Jason has a comment.
Sorry, yeah, I just wanted to ask a question really quickly on that kickoff meeting for the state section, and kind of pose an open question, I guess, to you, Kathleen, or Graham, about outreach to property owners prior to that survey being done, just so they know, someone's going to be around the neighborhood, taking pictures of their homes, things like that. So,
Yes. So, that's something that I have scheduled to discuss at Tuesday's meeting with the Landmark Nominations Committee. I'm going to work with the township communications officials about using their platforms to do text notification and other notification mechanisms, email, newsletter, to advise residents that they'll be out and about doing the field work. So, we'll touch on that on Tuesday next week.
Good.
thanks, Graham.
And I was thinking that perhaps our consultant might have some suggestions as well. So I think that's something to keep in mind, that we can ask them.
Yes, the consultant next week.
Yes, okay. Moving on. Old business. There is no old business, but there's none. But I would like to remind the commission members that it's up to them to look at the information, the documents that Graham has prepared, and he gives us updates. I know an update came through yesterday. So it's up to each commission member to be aware of these updates and to read them, print them out, and certainly read them and certainly be aware of them. I know I've asked Graham to put more of the information online as we're discussing it. So I just wanted to make that clear that people have to take more responsibility because Graham is working obviously from his house and doesn't have the opportunity to be in the office. And the packets go out the week before and some things change before that. So just wanted the commission members to be cognizant of that. Okay, so on to new business. Let me just get my information. The agenda was changed for tonight. We are not under new business. We are not hearing Planning Board application 2675, 423 Bloomfield Avenue. The applicant has asked that we hear it next month. So please, I urge the commissioners to keep the plans, tuck them away, because those are the plans that we'll be looking at next week, next month rather. So new plans will not be going out. So please don't get rid of them. I know everybody wants to throw things out.
Question about that, Graham. Didn't we see this at another meeting, 423?
Yes, this was presented to the Development Review Committee previously. However, the plans have changed since then. So the new plans that you got are different. So we've asked for additional time for the professionals to complete their review of their plans.
Right, good. Yeah, I was confused.
Oh, okay. And one more thing. I had started to mention Mr. Conley's report. He goes out every month into the historic districts to just observe what's going on in terms of what we've approved and things that stand out that need some attention. And he did have something that was visible on Bloomfield Avenue from Church Street. So I don't know if that's been resolved yet, Graham.
So we've been speaking with the property owner there, and we're doing some investigative work to figure out what's going on. So. Okay,
great. I just wanted the commission members and the public to know that our HPC consultant, Thomas Conley, will now start his monthly survey walkthrough, which is the inspection of Montclair's local landmark historic district. So he is going to resume that. Okay, now we are on to new business. And the first order of business, does anyone have any other comments about committee reports or anything else going on? No, okay. So new business. The first thing that we are going to hear is the Board of Adjustment, application 2679, 357 Orange Road. This is a bulk variance for additions to dwelling in the R1 one-family zone. And let me just find my notes. This application has been referred to the HPC for advice as required under Montclair Code 347-142. We are reviewing this because the property is identified in the Hollywood Avenue Potential Historic Resource Area. The area is identified as a potential historic area where there are further study in the 2016 historic preservation element of the Township Master Plan. In accordance with Montclair Code 347-142, the applicant has been referred to us for advice before proceeding to the Zoning Board of Adjustment. Then the historic preservation element describes the areas between 1920 and 29, consisting of two-story single-family houses built mostly in a Dutch colonial revival style and often featuring an upper half story. Our design guidelines, section 614, states that new additions for residential properties recommends that new additions be designed and constructed so that character-defining features of the historic building is not destroyed in the process. The guidelines further note that the addition should complement the original historic building and be distinguishable. So, do we have the applicant here? And
Yes. Hey, Mr. and Mrs. Williams, you're unmuted now, so you're joining the line.
Hello.
You can go ahead and introduce yourself.
what?
Where I'm here.
We can hear you. I unmuted your line.
Oh, okay. All right. So we're looking to build an addition on the back end of the house. So, like, Graham, if you want.
I think if you could just state your names first, so we get so we know who's talking. That would help.
Sorry. We're Lynn Tyrone Williams. We're the owners of 350 Orange Road.
Can you just raise your hand?
Excuse me, do we have to swear?
That's what I'm going
have
to
them
do, Kathleen.
Jason's about to swear them in.
Okay.
Can you just raise your right hands and do you swear and affirm that the that the testimony you're about to give this commission will be truthful and accurate to the best of your ability?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you. Go ahead.
Okay. So would you like me to bring up the plans?
Yes, thank you.
So we'll let the Williams describe their project to begin with. So.
Now it's your turn?
Yes, now it's your turn. Go ahead. Thanks for bearing with us.
No problem. So we're looking to add on to our existing structure in the back. We're adding on a master handicap accessible master bedroom and a bathroom for my elderly parents that have moved in with us. We're also adding on a handicap ramp, wheelchair accessible ramp, and then a deck to kind of tie in the ramp with the rest of the house.
Okay.
So, I mean, I think that's pretty much all that we're doing. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, all right, thank you. Do you have an architect? We've received drawings. Are they going to testify?
No.
Okay, all right, just to be clear. Okay, so we received these plans, and what we have to do is really look at. We require. I think, Graham, you can help me out here a little bit. The plans have really are not are not complete. We often we have to look at plans that accurately reflect the existing conditions and devoid of inconsistency. So, Graham, I know that you and I've had a conversation about this project. Could you further elaborate that we just have to comment on the bulk variance and how it relates to whether it impacts the historic district, but also we don't really have that much detail about what's going on in the drawing. So could you just elaborate a little bit more, Graham, on that?
Well, I guess just for clarity's sake, I mean, the plans are complete for the submission and filing to the Zoning Board of Adjustment. I think that the HPC, with respect to your comments, if you need more additional details or information, that's what you need to convey to the Zoning Board. But I think with respect to what's completeness for proceeding before the Zoning Board of Adjustment, the application is complete from that perspective. If the Commission feels they need additional information about signing details or other things like that, that's what they need to request from the Zoning Board as part of the approval process.
Okay, thank you. And Mr. Conley has submitted his report. Is he here tonight?
Yes, Tom's here.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, so hi, Tom. Can you just go over, there you go, your comments. Thank you.
Before I do that, I'd like to mention, Graham, you did not call my name as being here for the roll call. So
I'm sorry about that, Tom.
That's all right. Yeah, so from my point of view,
Tom,
yeah.
Sorry to interrupt. Before you jump into your comments, just for the benefit of the applicants, can you just give just a quick overview of just what the scope of the commission is in terms of our review, just so to have some context for the comments? Or I could give that if you would like.
Yeah, I'm not sure exactly what you're asking.
Sure. So let me just, for the benefit of the applicants, clarify. As Graham said, the plans that you submitted are complete for the purposes of these bulk variances, but here at the Historic Preservation Commission, we're primarily concerned with how the addition is going to relate to the surrounding area, to the existing historic structure, and to the historic district. So the details that this commission is looking at, we're more concerned with some of the design elements, the materials that are being used. And for our review, having photographs of the existing conditions, having mock-ups of the proposed addition are more helpful for our review. So as Mr. Connolly's going through his comments, just think about that at the extent that you could provide us a little bit more detail in asking, in answering some of those questions. That would be helpful for this hearing.
So to go even further there, so when I start my review, obviously I look at the set of drawings, but I also make a site visit. I photograph the house, and then I compare what's actually on site to the drawings. And the first thing I noticed in reviewing the drawings that there were a number of inconsistencies. And one of the biggest ones, I guess, had to do with the windows. And if you look at the windows shown on the left side elevation on drawing A3, they're not consistent with what's shown in the plans, and they're not consistent with actually there. And you can see that the size of the windows on the first floor and the second floor are drawn at different heights. The sills are not drawn accurately. And it looks like you're trying to replicate these windows in the addition or the proposed addition, but they don't align the head and sill heights for some reason. All these little details are important for us to look at and even for you to construct the addition, to make sure you get what you're actually after here. The overhangs are drawn on the drawings as having what they call just as a pork chop, and they're actually open eave, almost exposed rafters or open-sided eave projections. The eave actually goes in front of the chimney you can see here in this photograph there, and it kind of has a step to it. So these are all important little details that are not shown on the drawings. The actual proposed addition, we may be okay, and I'm speaking for the commission, but in my mind, it is probably okay with some minor tweaks, but these details are important for us to evaluate the proposed addition. So, like, are the actual windows going to align with what you have there? But again, there's inconsistencies in the plan and elevations.
Well, if I could just do a little bit of clarification, I think that the second floor, they're doing some reconfiguration on the second floor, installing some bathrooms. So that's why some of the windows in the existing elevation on the left side, are here. But once following the renovations and the interior modifications, they're doing some shifting of those windows, which will shift them into this format here. So there is some relocation of existing windows on the facade. I think that's part of what the change is.
Yeah,
if you look in plan, they're changing some of those things.
Typically, things are post-shade or noted on the drawings that are being modified.
Mm-hmm.
It's hard to read the drawings.
Is the configuration of the windows changing as well? I noticed that they're 6/1, but the drawings are showing 1/1.
That's right. I noted that in my, or I believe I did. Yeah, I'm not sure. I mean, that was one of the things too.
Well, that's certainly something that the commission can ask for a review of the windows, for them to be 6/1 and a review of those windows following approval.
Yeah, there is not too much information about the windows themselves. What's drawn on the drawings almost shows kind of a masonry head and sill to the windows, which I know is not the case, but they're drawn that way. Yeah, like I said, I think the addition is probably fine, but it's all these little details that are important for us to look at that are hard to divine from these drawings. And the biggest things were the roof overhang and the windows, the location of the windows, the head and sills of the windows. And there were no details on the actual ramp and deck as far as the railing, what the balusters look like or what they're even made of.
Right, so materials. And then, there you go. And then the next thing, anything else on the plans themselves, Mr. Conley, or?
Back to it.
I do believe if you look at my comments right there, I'm a big proponent of a roof plan. We never get a roof plan for some reason because that really helps in the reading of the actual drawings.
Right.
I mentioned the ramp details, the decking, the railing. We do have in our design guidelines for the underside of all decks and ramps should be enclosed with either a lattice or some other treatment. That is not shown. And the proposed addition is being shown as being vinyl sided, which is not permitted, not a permitted material. So that should be looked at.
Right.
And one minor thing, and I believe we do mention in our design guidelines and the Secretary of Interior standards, is for all additions to be distinguished by way of more of the material. So typically you would step back an addition from the existing corner of the building just to show a change in the evolution of a structure.
Okay, so these are all your comments about the existing, the drawings that we've been given. So, anything else, or is that the end of your? That's the end of your comments. Okay, all right, great. So why don't we open it up to questions from the commissioners now to ask of the homeowners? Mr. Hyman, do you have anything to ask?
No, I don't have any questions.
Okay, Ms. Kane-Levy?
No, I think we need this additional information, even if they could tell us now, we need to see it in a plan.
Right. And Mr. Rooney?
Yep. Hang on, Steve. You're on mute. Go ahead, Steve.
Oh, okay. I think, more information, especially what the windows are, the configuration and what their materials. I think that actually the massing itself is correct, but we just need to know all about the materials.
And Mr. Greenbaum? Mr. Greenbaum? You're not, I guess he's not there. So
it sounds like the commission is in favor of incorporation of comments 1 through 5 from Mr. Connolly's report into a final memorandum. I guess the outstanding question is item 6. It sounds like Mr. Rooney is okay with the massing aligning with the existing building. I guess what some other thoughts from the other commissioners on that recommendation to the Board of Adjustment?
Yeah, so Graham, I agree with Steve. I'm in favor overall of the massing and the grant of the variance, but for our purposes, as Mr. Connolly pointed out, there really isn't detail to be clarified.
we can't hear you.
But sure. My recommendation would be to submit the memorandum in support of the variance, attach Mr. Connolly's memo and his recommendations, and request that a condition be that they come back after the bulk variance is granted with detailed plans for commission review.
Okay. And just one note, I just want to make sure the wording here, because the zoning board gets very into terminology of what's permitted and what's not. I think that the official language for item 5 is that the vinyl siding use is discouraged. So just for the benefit of the commission, I think the word in the design guidelines is that vinyl siding is discouraged in the potential district, not permitted. They're really into permitted uses and not permitted uses, so I don't want to confuse their terminology.
Oh,
Well,
please.
I do have a question of that. If the body of the house is vinyl siding, is that what it is? Should it not be consistent throughout? I mean, what would we expect it to be if?
The existing is vinyl siding.
Yeah.
I think in the past, if I could jump, that we've asked if the applicant would consider facading the entire structure in either, a wood or an appropriate, like a hardy board or something.
Well, I don't think we side the whole house, but, removing the siding or the vinyl siding. I'm sure there's wood or some other material underneath that vinyl siding, but you could also build the addition or side the addition with wood siding and let the original building be vinyl.
The vinyl, yeah.
That's true.
That is true. Any other comments from commissioners that haven't? Mr. Greenbaum, are you there? You want to? Oh, it just lit up. I too am in favor of the massing. I think that, and I think the idea of the ramp on the side, everything that you're attempting to do looks good. Make it a livable place for you and your family. I just think that we really do need to look at the details, as Jason said, so that we would request, I couldn't hear you, Jason, are we requesting additional plans to come back to us or the plans to go to the zoning board?
No. So I don't believe the applicant's going to have time to do the plan revisions. I think that it would be a request that they return with revised plans to the HPC.
Okay.
Okay.
Great. So,
Mr. and Mrs. Williams, do you have any further questions? Just to clarify for you, this will be an advisory memo to the zoning board. It's up to the zoning board to review these comments with you at their proceedings on July 15th. And they'll incorporate those, they'll discuss the proposed recommendations with you at that time. So, okay.
Okay.
And if you have any questions, certainly reach out to me and I'll be sure to send you a copy of the report when it's finished from the HPC to the zoning board.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay.
All right. Thank you very
okay,
much.
thank you.
Great,
All
Good
right.
luck.
Good night.
Hey, Graham?
Yes, Jason.
On Tom's comment 6, could you just add what he testified to regarding an example of distinguishing. I think he talked about setting the addition back a little bit.
Yeah, typically the way it's done, like a 1 foot setback from the corner would be nice.
Well, so that's where, so I guess items 1 through 5 we were okay with. 6, when we start talking about setting things back, that's changing the massing and really gets into the jurisdiction of the zoning board. So if we're going to make that comment, we really have to, it should be a unanimous opinion of the commission, and we have to make that carefully. Because that's really getting to the teeth of what the zoning board's purview is going to be. So, and typically the zoning board does approve additions that do align with an existing structure. So I think, we need to, if we're going to make the comment that the commission would like the addition to be set back 1 foot, we're really going to have to beef up that language and provide stronger justification in this report.
So Graham, could you put the plan back up, the drawings back up so we can, or the picture maybe? Do you have the picture? There you go. Because it appears that the new addition that they're proposing in width is very similar to the current house. So maybe it would do, if to set it back, would do a lot in breaking up that facade that goes, straight across. What do my fellow commissioners think?
Can you please put up the elevation, this elevation?
Sure. Elevation. The proposed elevation? Yeah, this is the publicly visible elevation from Hollywood Avenue.
It does look from this that it's set back, but we can't tell from the plans, can we?
I can't.
The plans show it aligning with the existing in plan.
Right.
All right. Well, I agree. We should say that it should be set back a foot.
Yes.
I don't know if it needs to be a foot, 6 inches, because I'm afraid of what you're going to do is change the usable space inside.
Well, yeah, that will definitely change, but I think the overhangs are important here too, because once you start messing with, setting the building back, the overhangs aren't drawn as they actually exist. There are no port stops, so that needs to, and does they align? Yeah, it looks like they do. So that was one of the details we asked for, and that should be looked into. So if you set the back, that that alignment, it may or may not cause an issue and may improve things, but it needs to be drawn correctly.
It needs to be drawn correctly. That's more important.
So I guess the question remains: is it 6 inches or 1 foot, or what's the recommendation on?
I don't think we should say it. I just think we should say it should be distinguished from the existing building somehow. You could do that with materials, but I think it should be more than materials. And a suggestion would be to set it back. But I think the dimension would be up to the architect.
Yeah, so I think that we just need to be clear in our language to the zoning board. When we say distinguished, they're not going to know what that necessarily means or what you're asking for there. So if you're asking for,
how about a change in plane?
Change in plane. Okay.
Change in plane, right.
Okay, is everyone in agreement with that?
Yes.
Yes? Okay, Graham, can you put that into the?
Yes.
Thank you.
And thank you, Mr. and Mrs. Williams.
Thank you, Mr. and Mrs. Williams.
We'll be reaching out.
Yeah, good luck.
Our next, just a second.
In front of you.
I don't have my plans. Anyway, the next, number 2 is the Board of Adjustment application 2681, 818 Valley Road. This is a bulk variance for a new accessory structure in the R1 one-family zone. This also is in a proposed potential historic district. This is the Montclair Heights Potential District. And I'm sorry, I don't have my information that I usually. So we do have plans for this were submitted. Can you put that up, Graham?
Yep, they're on the screen at this time.
Okay.
So, and I have the applicant here. Maybe best for them to walk us through what they're proposing to do.
Please.
So, Mr.
Okay.
Adam Brinton is on the line.
Okay, so Mr. Hyman, can you do the honors, swear them in?
Sure, Mr. Britt. Are you going to be the only one testifying, or will
My wife Olivia is here as well.
Okay. Can you both raise your right hands? Do you swear or affirm that the testimony that you're going to give this commission will be truthful and accurate to the best of your ability?
I do.
Okay, could you tell us what you plan to do? Project outline.
So the picture that Graham has up there, just to summarize, sorry for the noise there. We have an existing garage, and the garage roof is too low to get our minivan in, and we wanted to put some storage in. And so we went to the zoning board we went to go put in the application. We checked with the zoning board, and they said—
The zoning officer.
Zoning officer, right.
Yes.
They said that because we have just slightly over 3 feet of clearance to the property line, even though there's no buildings or anything next to our existing garage, that technically, if we change the roof line at all, that we had to go to the zoning board. So that's why we're here today. So it's not really a new structure. It's an existing structure that's dug into our property's on a slope. And so this garage is about 79 feet from the street already. And it's built into the slope of the property on the back side. So the back side's only about 5 feet higher than the dirt, 6 feet higher than the dirt anyway. So we just want to change the roof line. And we thought just storage. So
This photo here, I think, shows what you're talking about. This is the rear of the garage. You can see the stairway kind of comes up. It's very short and squat, almost built into the hillside.
you can basically lean on the roof when you're standing next to it.
Yeah, this is what, 2 feet off the ground back here?
It's like 3 feet.
3?
Maybe 3. So that's why we're here. It's just that right now, so we've been here since 2004 again, and we've never been able to get our minivan in the garage. And so the garage roof needs to be redone. And that's why we were going to the town, and we spoke to the zoning officer. And so since we're redoing the roof, we figured try to raise it so that we can get the car in and have a little storage above.
So essentially, right now, the peak of your existing roof of the garage is about 8 feet 4 measured at the front of the garage, correct, Mr. Brinton? And what you're proposing to do is to do a roof height to the full 15 at the front of the garage, which is the permitted height of the garage.
Yeah, the 15 feet that's allowable.
Yes, that's the allowed accessory structure height.
I guess I'm sorry, Grant. I guess my understanding was that if there was just more than the 3 feet of clearance, like we have over 3 feet of clearance, but it's not enough to just fix our garage roof.
The required side yard setback is 6 feet.
Okay.
To accessory structures. So you have 3, so essentially 3 feet of your garage is located within the setback. So doing any construction or addition that raises or creates a greater non-conforming condition of the height of the garage within the setback is what triggers the need for variance relief.
Thank you.
And you're proposing a series of 2 shed dormers, I'm guessing, on either side of the.
On either side to let light in, and just the existing garage is like cinder block, and it has wood trim that matches the house, and the color matches the house. So we would be keeping the same colors, the house, and wood trim as the house. So not really changing it other than raising the roof and putting those dormers on.
I just want to see. So I see. Yeah, it's like wood frame up in this area, and then.
Yeah, there's right at the top. Unfortunately, it's just a little bit of wood trim, not trimming, framing. Yeah, there you go. So it already matches the house, and we were planned on keeping that. Oh, you can see our dog in the window in that picture. Thanks, Graham. He's at our feet right now. But yeah, that's basically it. So there's no structure next to our garage. It's freestanding. And that's the Bradford School behind us. That's their parking lot behind us. So it's kind of on its own in the backyard there if you looked at the survey or the overviews or anything like that. So anyway, that's why we're here. We're just hoping to get the car in. But we were told we had to come before the zoning board before we made any changes to the roof.
Yes, and you're here because the garage is viewable from the public street in front of the house, which is one of the required criteria for the HPC to have jurisdiction for their advisory review. So again, the commission will discuss your application and provide advisory comments to the zoning board on your application.
So yeah, the garage is about 80 feet from the street, and it's on a slope too. It's built on the slope of the property.
Yes. Sorry, go ahead, Kathleen.
Thank you. So just to clarify, the footprint of the garage will remain the same. You're just adding height.
Correct. The footprint doesn't change at all. It's just raising the roof a little bit.
Okay, and the material will be the cement block up to the existing, the cement block that you have now, and then above that, will it all be the clapboard?
Yeah. The
Okay.
cement block stays the same. We don't add to that. The contractor said that he would just use clapboard around to raise it a few feet.
Right. I noticed I didn't see on the plans, you don't have any indication of what type of garage door you're going to use.
Right now it's I don't know what you call it. It rolls up, but we were planning on probably getting a new garage door. We just haven't gotten around to it.
Okay. I think that's okay. Do you know what type of door you're going?
We were talking.
What design of door? Wood?
Well, we have to replace this door because the car doesn't fit in. So I guess it'd be one like Dutch doors, I guess. I don't know what you call them. Not Dutch doors. They would open out.
Right. The architect Mr. Rooney, can you help with that terminology?
Yes. This is a standard roll-up door, and I think that what you're doing is you're increasing the height of the door.
Correct.
So you can get it in. Are you making it any wider?
No, not wider.
Any wider. So you could put in another roll-up door, another overhead door, if you wanted. If you wanted to put in like a standard barn door when it opens up, that's possible too. Or you could make a roll-up door that looks like a barn door that opens out.
Yeah, that's probably, something along those lines. We haven't decided.
Okay.
So we'll open up to questions. Do you have any further testimony, Mr. and Mrs. Britton?
Did you want to go through Mr. Connolly's report first, Kathleen?
Yes.
Have him provide his comments?
Yes, that's a good idea. Okay.
Okay. Your report is now on the screen, so you should see that to go through your comments.
Okay, so in looking at this set of drawings, they're similar to the last project where it was tough to kind of understand all the details. Again, I think the direction you're going in is fine. Adding the dormers to the type of dormer, the shed dormer, is probably the correct type of dormer to be adding to the roof line. But again, we're lacking in detail here. And I have a technical question, Graham. If these drawings were, what type of drawings, detail-wise, is the applicant going to need for building permits?
So that's separate for construction filing. We don't go through the process here.
I think that's the kind of detail we're looking for, though.
Yeah, unfortunately, that's not what the zoning board requires. So that's where we have, different jurisdiction of different projects. So I think similar to the last application, what I would recommend that the commission do here is that should the application be approved, that the commission requests that the applicant submit a final set of detailed drawings for review of the garage addition. So.
I mean, I have
Will you
concern.
be engaging in an architect to design the construction if you get variance approval?
I'm sorry, was that a question for us?
Yeah, that was a question for you. Will you be having, a contractor or somebody do more official drawings for construction proceedings?
Whatever's required for the building. But being that it's just a garage roof, I wasn't expecting to hire an architect per se.
Okay. So I think whatever final drawings that you have for the permitting process, the commission is asking a copy of that set be filed over to them just so that they have a better understanding of the methods of construction and how things are fitting together. So, and for some review.
In looking at these drawings, it does look like the side walls of the garage are going to be increased. The dormers, as they're show a flat roof to them. I don't think it's correct. There's no details on the windows, which may be fine. We don't know anything about the materials, so it's tough to comment.
Okay, thank you, Tom. Now, we'll start with questions from the commissioners. Mr. Hyman, do you have anything?
I had a question about the proposed windows. Have you decided what types of windows you were going to be utilizing?
They would be, I guess, vinyl windows, but they would have the look match the house.
It would be,
Okay.
what is that, 8/8?
We try to get 8/8 or
They
6/6, I think is common.
8/8 if you can.
Okay.
Anything else?
That's all I had.
Okay, Ms. Kane-Levy?
Yeah, from this photograph, it looks like the whole front facade, including the gable, is all straight, at one plane, but the drawings look like that top gable slopes back, or what you're proposing will be sloping back. Is that the case? Graham, can you put up the drawings?
Yeah, so this is the front elevation, I think, from Valley Road.
Okay, and
So the peak gets raised here.
can you go through some more of the drawings?
Sure. There's just two different views. So this is the front of the existing garage, and then the proposed. So the peak goes up to here with the new front window, then the two dormers as shown, and then this is a view of the side elevation with the raised roof and the front elevation with the lower roof here, or the side elevation with the lower roof.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
The idea is to keep the same roof line, just raise it a little bit.
Right.
Can you put back the front elevation, please?
Sure, I'm gonna see if I can rearrange pages so that they're next to each other. So we can kind of do a before and after series. Okay. Do that, and then view, display, 2 pages. There we go. Is that better?
Yes, that's very helpful. Thank you.
Okay. So this is a comparison of the front view. So we have the before on the left and the after on the right. And I apologize for the tipping. It's our scan.
Okay.
And then the side. Again, the before is on the left and the after is on the right.
Side.
Do you have any further questions?
No.
Oh, okay, Mr. Rooney?
I've about already made my questions.
Okay, I have a question. Is Mr. Greenbaum there?
I'm here.
Okay, do you have any questions for the applicant?
No, I do not.
I have a question. The facade that's up now that you're showing, is that the north? That's the north facade, or is that both the north and the south?
I believe that's both north and south facades.
Okay, so the one that faces the north, you show a window in the middle of it. Is that going?
There's an existing window in that location. This is sorry.
Yeah, I've seen it. Where is it? I've seen it.
Okay. No, my question was, I thought it would be obscured by the way that the dirt, it's terraced there. I didn't think it was
Yeah,
going
it's just
to be.
very low, so. Oh,
So
sorry about that.
you're going to make the window obviously larger. There
There we
it
go.
is.
There it
Okay,
was.
there you go. Okay,
Oh, he got it. Okay.
okay.
Sorry about
I didn't know if that the earth was actually interfering with what you were proposing to do, the landscape.
No, not, the earth is close to the window, but it's not touching the window. We weren't changing the landscape or the window height there or anything.
Okay, and then if you go back to the front of, could you show the front drawing, Graham? Is there any type of an overhang on that peak, that the roof?
It'll be flush.
Right there.
On the,
Yeah, so the question is there going to be kind of an overhang along this portion here?
Yes.
Like, will this have an overhang recess that goes back? Oops. Can't
no,
drop it.
the idea wasn't to have an overhang. It was to keep the existing footprint for the roof. If you look at the pictures, it might be like a 1/2 inch of trim, but that's about it.
So nothing. Yeah, the existing doesn't have an overhang. I guess the commission is just asking because the house has an overhang like this here. But I'm just curious if
Right.
that would be replicated on the garage, a little bit of an overhang.
I'm happy to incorporate an overhang, but didn't put it in my drawings because I thought to the point, I thought my thought was just to keep the existing footprint, but I'm happy to have an overhang because it's better for the structure and drainage anyway.
Right.
Yeah, just to clarify, the overhang is exempt from the walls of the structure, what the setbacks are to, not the overhangs.
Sorry, I didn't understand that.
No, that's okay.
Well, okay. So I guess we're here. Does anyone else have any other questions? We're no? Okay, so do we, I guess we're, in terms of comments, as with the previous applicant, it's a question of really having a complete set of working drawings. So,
Yeah, so I think my recommendation is to incorporate both comments from Mr. Connolly, and ask that the applicant return with a full set of plans, and then also return for review of all the items described in number 2.
Right.
right.
And
Is
I also think it needs some eaves, overhang or eaves. I think
That we
it's
can certainly add as a comment as well.
Right.
We should note that the existing windows on the garage are 6/6, not 8/8 like the existing house. So you might want to go with the 6/6.
Yeah. 6/6 would be
I
better.
think also the proportions of those windows are much smaller, so you couldn't really get 8/8 in there.
Okay.
Okay.
Are we all set then with, do you have any other questions from the applicant?
Mr. Britton, do you have any more
Do you have
other
any
questions?
No, I'm fine.
I don't have any more questions. Thank you.
Okay, very
Okay.
good. So as I told the prior applicant, we'll prepare a memo with these comments, and I'll get that out to you. And again, your application is scheduled for the July 15th zoning board meeting. I'll be touching base with all the information to move forward at that meeting. Okay?
Okay, thank you very much.
Okay.
All right.
Okay, thank you.
for bearing with us in this remote format.
Let's see, our next order of business concerns the planning board capital project review of the Lorraine Avenue well tanks, which are on Lorraine Avenue and North Mountain. They're just crossing over the railroad tracks. And this memo, which was generated by the planning board, it contains a 9-page plan prepared by Suburban Consulting Engineers for the installation of 2 storage tanks, a generator, and other improvements adjacent to the Lorraine Avenue well house. This capital project review is required pursuant to the New Jersey Municipal Land Use Law which states that whenever the planning board has adopted a master plan, the governing body, before taking action necessitating the expenditure of any public funds incidental to the location, character, extent of such project, shall refer the action involving such specific project to the planning board for review and recommendation in conjunction with such master plan. So the planning board, this location is important because it sits within the Upper Montclair Historic District. And the building itself is located on 2 lots and is identified in the nomination report as a key building. The term key is applied to those buildings which possess distinct architectural and historical significance and which act as a landmark within the district. So we had a subcommittee.
The key building designation is to the train station building, not to the pumping
That's
station.
right.
To this, yes. I'm sorry, not to this. Sorry.
Thank you.
This is on the same lot on the same property. So you can see on page 10 of the memo, Graham has indicated right there with the red dots where this building lies.
Well, actually, just further clarification, it's actually not on the same lot. I think it might be a typo in the district. The train station is here, located on the New Jersey Transit lot, and then the water pumping station is located on this lot outlined in red. So they're actually on 2 separate lots.
Oh, okay. So you have to fix your typo then in your.
I pulled the description right from the report, so
Right.
Oh, really? It's the nomination report.
it's from the nomination report, yes. So
Okay. So we had a subcommittee meeting about this, and Graham, can you give us?
to that, I don't know. Bill Slack and Robert Wells from representing Suburban and the architect are both here this evening joining us. So I wanted to give them a chance to kind of walk through the project and
Okay.
questions that the commission had. So Rob and Bill, if you want to join us, you can. Oh, I think you're unmuted.
Am I on?
You're on. And Bill
Graham, am I in?
Slack, we can hear you, but I don't think we can see you at this time.
That's probably better.
Yeah, thanks a lot. Not on my end. I have the video on.
Okay,
Okay,
that's
could you
fine. So
identify yourself and your relationship to the project?
Yeah, good evening. This is Bill Slack. I'm a principal with the CTS Group, architects and planners. We were retained by Suburban Engineering to design this privacy screen.
Yeah, and I'm Rob Wells. I'm with Suburban Consulting Engineers. We're a consultant for the Township of Montclair, adding improvements to their water treatment process at this site.
Okay, Mr. Hyman, could you swear in the 2 witnesses, please?
Jason, you're on mute. So go ahead, Jason.
Can you raise your right hands? Do you swear or affirm that the testimony that you're about to give this commission will be truthful and accurate to the best of your ability?
I do.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Could you describe a bit about what this project entails?
So we were retained to design a privacy viewing screen primarily for the residents across North Mountain Avenue. On further investigation, we looked and I saw, which was on the west side of the property. There are trees along that property line. There are well vegetated on the north side, but we did note, and it's well vegetated on the other side of the tracks in that parking lot. We did notice on the south side from Bellevue, and particularly the parking lot, there's also, I think, a need for screening of those tanks as well. So we developed a screen that would prevent the residents as primary focus to view the tanks.
we were between the existing non-historic stone structure, the well house. We were adjacent to the historic replaced train station. So a bit of a challenge. We, have read the guidelines, and per 106 review, we want to make sure we didn't replicate any images, the adjacent the structures. We looked at a type of architecture that would relate to the area, the train station. So we were looking for an aesthetic that was kind of a train shed type or an industrial type thing. So that's where we generated the design aesthetic from. It is a difficult and challenging task because we're dealing with, the west side and the south side. The rest of the structure is open for maintenance reasons. We are providing, Rob's company has landscape design, which is providing a fence along the back, and they are, providing quite a bit of vegetative screening. So just to go through these drawings here, the main view that you're going to see these tanks, we can't screen because we don't have that enough property in the back, but you will be seeing that from the train tracks, the tanks, the back of the enclosure. That's on the upper right-hand corner. The upper left, would be the north elevation. That's pretty well screened from Lorraine Avenue. When you're looking at the lower left, that's your south elevation, so that you would be looking at from the parking lot. And of course, the lower right is the view from North Mountain Avenue. Now, it does stick up quite a bit, and it does protrude above the existing roof line. I know there was a comment about the atypical non-center ridge line of the existing structure. So we looked at that, and we really didn't want to replicate that. And we saw the comments, and we think that the template for that type of industrial type train shed building would be a symmetrical structure. So that's why we chose to have that a symmetrical peak there and eve. We are trying to, replicate, make reference to the existing stone structure with our base. That was also an attempt to break up that overall massing because it is a pretty tall wall. It's possible that the overall ridge line of the proposed screen could be lowered a few feet. Based on our, scale drawings of the tanks, I don't know if we want to do that and risk being able to see that from across from North Mountain Avenue. So we also saw comments regarding painting of the tanks. They do come from the factory painted, so we're investigating that, making that maybe a charcoal gray or dark gray. The back of the wall could be painted similar color. We have SketchUp 3D images that we can get to in a little bit. We took the liberty, my renderer took the liberty of making that all maroon, but that can certainly be changed to a different color.
Would you like to go through those images now, Mr. Slack? Where would you like to go next?
Well, yeah. Do we want to have any questions about this now, or do we want to go back? Or yeah. So here's some 3D images. So that would be the view from North Mountain Avenue, and that's the screen. The only place you're not going to see, you will see the fence is where there's gates, large gates that will, bring in equipment to maintain the generator. That's behind that area in that corner right there, and around the side.
The generator's in this location here.
I think, Rob, you responded to the planning board to increase your size of vegetation screening?
Yeah, well, we'll consider when we go there next week. So we'll talk to them about what kind of plants they want, or I guess the plants we picked in the back only go to 20 feet. They had some comment that they'd rather have something taller.
Okay, and that's the back screen line. That's basically, I think, along the property line, the rear, that would be from the train track side.
Mm-hmm.
And we're indicating the maroon paint on the back of the block wall. That could easily be matched with the eventual color of the tanks.
Yeah, so you're saying that this color of the wall, the red, could match the color of the tank in a charcoal
Correct.
gray color.
Correct, and we would recommend a gray color that tends to disappear better than most colors we've used. And there was a comment about the chain link fence. I believe it's a privacy fence, Rob, with slats in it. So any fencing we have is going to be pretty much covered up with that the vegetation. And there's that would be right from the train station view, which shows that base, the stone base. And we arrived at that dimension that would line up with the top of the existing wall that wraps around.
Oh, here. Mm-hmm. And then for the benefit of the commission, we have a series of existing site photos in our memo, so just so they can kind of see the existing condition. This is the building. So the generator would go in this location right here, and then that fencing would go like this, and then down that way. And then this is a view. So the tanks would go here on the back side of the building and that screening wall. And then this would be a return shielding wall here.
And Graham, can you point out where the train tracks are in that last picture?
Yes. So the tracks and the platform are right over here. And then this is some wayfinding signage. There's stairs up that go right over there.
Right, that's the corner of the train station that's in the picture.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Did you say?
Okay, why don't we go through Mr. Conley's comments first before we start with questions?
Sure.
Okay.
Certainly.
Well, I believe the applicant already touched on my first comment. My number one comment, or actually the second one, was to align the roof slopes of the proposed screening to be similar to the existing building. And the other comment was just to explain why the size of the screening and why it's set where it was. And I believe they kind of already went through that. And I assumed it was for maintenance issues to allow them to have access to those tanks. And looking at this again with the, I guess your rendered drawings there, I'm going to throw this out there. I'd almost like this to have the screen that your proposed screening disappear. I've really rarely seen screening like this be successful. If it's not a building, it's never going to look like a building. With the fencing and maybe some taller shrubs, I think that might be
It's a challenge. It's really, because it's not a building, and I looked through your very well written design guidelines, historic design guidelines, and I tried to see where we were applicable, and there weren't too many areas because it's not a building, really. It's just
I think what you did is fine, but like I said, I've never really seen this be too successful. We want it to be a building, and it's not going to be. It's similar to the telephone towers that they try to make look like trees. You always know
exactly what I was thinking about.
It's not a tree, and that's kind of the same thing here. You're always going to know it's not a building.
Well, you could do a screening back there, even with chain link fence.
I think that might be a better, better way to go. But that's.
I mean, Frank Gehry did it on his house.
Wait, Tom, are you speaking about that red screen that sits above the existing building?
We're trying hard to make it look like a building, and it's never going to be.
The whole thing.
Not going to look.
The whole structure.
Yeah.
So Rob,
I mean, that's, my only really other comment was to try and align these roof slopes to make it look like it was built as one structure from the get-go, but, having these different slopes looks a little odd to me,
right.
especially in this view that we're seeing here.
Yeah, it was the existing structure is an atypical ridge line, so we were
Right.
very reluctant to replicate that. So
Yeah, well, it's harder to do.
yeah.
Yeah.
So that's why I'm saying, maybe painting the tanks, eliminating this structure, painting them some color that may disappear, and I'd rather see fencing and shrubbery. And maybe build a foundation to place some fencing on. That might be okay. But, making it look like a building when it's not a building is tough.
Right.
Okay.
How
Hey,
tall-
Rob, I think we had, excuse me, Rob, I think we had looked at that, right? Putting a low wall and fencing on top of it, or?
how tall of fencing would you want to go from this direction?
Well, the
As
big
tall as the
concern,
tank.
but the main criteria that we were given was the residents from across North Mountain.
Yeah, that's
That
what
would be
I'm talking about.
something the commission would have to look at.
It doesn't look like you're going to see that,
The water commission, I'm sorry, the water commission would have to go back to those people and.
I'm sorry I brought it up, but that's just my.
It was a challenging design problem.
Yeah. No, it's. Yeah.
Okay, so why don't we begin with questions then? Caroline, do you have a question?
Well, just about the materials again. So the stone veneer is supposed to match the stone of the building. Is that
Correct.
it's
Correct.
true stone? It's actual stone.
It's a veneer.
It's
No,
a
it's a
veneer.
veneer.
It's like
Yeah,
a
it's
2-inch thick. Yeah, which is what's on the existing building now. It's a block building with stone applied.
Oh, okay.
And the
And-
same stone's on the existing wall that's in front of the building.
Right.
And what is the screen wall made out of? Wood or metal?
It's structurally the backup
block.
actual structure is reinforced concrete block. We were proposing like a batten board seam look. There were comments that metal is the most maintenance free. That was not widely applauded using a metal siding. I think there are better quality metal sidings. They also make a vinyl siding, and I've been trying to get samples for the last month or so, and nobody's shipping these things out. So, there was also thought of horizontal hardy plank. We didn't really entertain that because it might, be too closely related to the train station, which is a completely different scale and a completely different function. So, but that's right now we're looking at a metal batten seam siding.
And did you do any studies of what it would look like without the screen? How much of the top of the tank you would actually see over the house or the
Yeah. Well, we did do elevations of that. And there are other tanks and there's also piping over the top of that. So, these are kind of decisions that I guess were made with the homeowners, Rob, with the water commission. I mean, it's a significant height structure.
Yeah, the existing well house is, I think, 16 to the top of the peak,
No, 60. Well,
or 16 to the eave, maybe.
from the west side of the building, it's 22 feet to the eave from the west side. The back part slopes away, so it's like 26 feet.
Well, I don't know how much you'd actually see, if there was a rendering showing these tanks without any kind of screening, how much you would actually see over the roof of it, if it would be just like a fraction of it or if it would tower over it. I would be, because my first instinct was just like Tom's, that it would probably be better just not to have anything and to have it screened with plantings around it, but not to have this, false facade looming above it.
Yeah, And also not being on the east side, it's like, what was the point here?
Yeah, right.
You know?
That's
And then you won't have to deal with the maintenance, right? You know, if you
right.
Yeah, right.
have shrubbery, you're good.
Mr. Hyman, questions? No?
No questions from Sharon.
What is the roof material?
There is no roof.
There is no
There's no
roof.
roof.
It's the
Oh,
gable end with a sidewall returning. We're proposing to reshingle the existing structure.
Would almost read as a parapet in a way.
Yeah.
Mr. Greenbaum, do you have any questions?
No, that's it.
Okay, I have a question. I wasn't clear. Have you confirmed that you be able to get the tanks and the accompanying metal pipes and everything painted from the factory?
Yeah, it's I don't know about the factory, that we haven't confirmed yet. It's a painted steel tank. So I don't see why we can't paint it a different color. I don't know if we can get it done at the factory or not.
Oh, okay. Oh, I thought maybe perhaps you could. It would be more permanent.
What are the uses of the tank? What do they do?
It's to treat the water. There's these PFAS chemicals have become of great concern, and there's been new legislation for testing and removal. So there's a new contaminant that they discovered at this well that needs to be removed. So they're like charcoal that goes in them. It's like a giant Brita filter, really.
Oh,
That just goes
Right.
through the tanks and removes these contaminants as well as a bunch of other contaminants as well.
So if we remove the wall, the metal wall that you're proposing, the screen wall, right, and kept the foundation as designed, maybe change the material to brick, your foundation on your drawings is shown as being 6 feet tall, right? That foundation wall,
From the lower level, yeah.
right? So keep it at that height and put the fence on top of that, right? You would only need a 13-foot fence then
right.
Yeah.
to get to your 19. But you'd still see, I guess, some of the tanks, but
Yeah, I mean, the concern is, and then what's the fence made out of? And then you've got the wind load. So, do you create a tube system, a structural tube system to hold that screen? Maybe.
Maybe.
We just went through a similar thing here in another town, where PSE&G proposed building a false wall that looked like a building, and in the end, they ended up using fencing and shrubbery just because we went through this exercise of trying to make it look like a building, and you never really could.
You just never can.
Yeah, and it looks fake.
What kind of fencing would you want us to put then? You wouldn't want the chain link then, right? You're saying?
No, I'm thinking more, like a black aluminum fencing.
Yeah.
And
Like an estate fence.
yeah,
So Tom, the project that you referred to, that you consider that successful, the outcome of it?
I do. It was almost the exact same thing. We were trying to screen electrical equipment, a PSE&G substation in downtown Cranford here, and we went
Okay.
through the exercise. Yeah.
Okay, so I think we've come, can you go back, Graham? Could you put the color rendition that they did that, I don't think we saw that one. That black fence to the left, is that what you're proposing now to be, what is that material to be?
Yeah, chain link fence with PVC slats.
Black slats, I guess. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
And it's just a generator behind it.
Right. You can get tall arborvitaes, I believe they're called, right? That are like 19 feet. I think you can get them that way off the truck and plant them there, and you're pretty much right where you need to be. That's what they did here. So it's doable.
It is doable.
Right. So does anyone else have any comments about this, about eliminating that black? Let's do one component at a time. The black fence maybe with more dense screening in the front and on the side?
It's not there for security, right?
No, it is. We need it for security. We need to enclose the
Right.
generator as well
Oh,
as the
so you need
treatment
it for
equipment.
security. Okay.
Yes.
So I think that if we could do it in an aluminum fence
Right.
instead of a chain link with, that would be better. Chain link with slat. Just do it as an aluminum fence.
I agree.
When you say aluminum, you're referring to an estate type fence, so you'll
An
be able to.
estate type fence. You can see through it. That's
Yeah,
not a
okay,
problem. But
okay.
you're gonna put your screening in front of that.
Yeah, it's exactly what they did here.
That's the actual gate. Okay, yeah. From that
Okay.
west side, that's the actual gate. So that'll be
Right.
that'll be serviced, I guess.
Sure.
But there is a lot of screening along North Mountain Avenue.
Right.
Yeah, let's take a look. Let me pull up the site plan. You have the landscape plan in here, right? You know what sheet that was? Here it is.
That's right. You're proposing to add more.
Yeah, so here we can see on the landscape plan, you know, it's a pretty significant distance from North Mountain Avenue is up here. Let me do some annotating so we can see. This is North Mountain Avenue along here. So yeah, it's quite a distance back, and there's a bunch of screening in this area here.
But that's the new screening. There's old screen. There's the screening there.
This is the new proposed.
Right.
And then new screening is proposed here, and then obviously at the rear as well.
So you can't put screening in front because right in front of the gates. You need that to be functional.
For
Okay.
access.
Right. Okay. I didn't realize you needed the fence for security. Okay.
I have a quick question.
Sure.
The elevation from the previous shot that you showed us, I don't know what controls it. Graham, can you go back to that elevation with the stone there? And there was another one, a head-on one maybe, or?
Yeah.
Right there. You know, let me ask a question. Just for my clarification, which way is that facing? Is that elevation we're looking at? Are we looking south at that elevation?
No,
that's facing
West.
You're standing. Well, no, you're standing on North Mountain Avenue, looking to the east.
Looking to the
back towards the train tracks.
Yeah, towards the train tracks from
train
North Mountain.
station's on your right, train tracks beyond.
Is it possible that Tom, what do you think about this? That stone facade, there's really nothing breaking it up. And I'm wondering, do you think it makes sense to have some kind of trim board across to kind of break it?
That building exists.
Yeah.
So we're talking.
Not building.
I think that building's nice. I think it's a great building.
Yeah.
You know,
Go ahead.
We're good.
I have another question. If you could go back, Graham, to the scheme where the new foundation underneath the tank, it says that it's to be faced with stone to match the existing structure. Is that, see there? Is that, how close are you going to be able to get that to match? Because the stone that's on there now is actually pretty nice. It's not like Garden State brick face, in other words. It's not a.
Oh no, it's not that. It's real stone.
Yeah,
It's real stone. So that somebody started to ask that question, and you never replied, never got the answer.
Well, yeah, I mean, when we had our initial conversation, it was like we will try to get samples of that stone. So I assume it's a local stone.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so I guess one of the materials we would ask to come back for us to review it. Okay.
Why not just make the foundation out of brick, the new foundation? I mean, if we're really.
Oh, you could do that, right?
Distinguish between the existing and the new.
Right.
Instead of trying to match exactly.
Put a brick veneer, okay, on the block.
On the block, right?
Right.
Yeah.
With brick.
In this location.
Yeah, there's a pump house on the site as well, which was a split face kind of reddish color. That's like not historic. So yeah.
That's the building on the corner, correct?
It's close to North Mountain.
Right, which isn't as it's not as nice as this one. It's not,
It's split face block. No, it's split face block. It's a
Right.
modern structure.
right,
All right, what happened?
okay.
Yeah, it's right over here. Yeah.
I was just showing the location of the other building that was being referenced to. This is the other building they're referencing.
Yeah, that's like a rose pink color split face block. So
You lost
I
me.
didn't think that was an appropriate material. So
No.
No,
Oh, we can still see you, Steve. Sorry, you're not seeing the presentation anymore.
No, it just died for a while.
Oh, it's back though.
It's back up.
Okay, good.
okay, is there any more, does anybody else have any more comments on this? And then we can get to the memorandum. Then Graham, you could walk us through this perhaps that we discussed.
Yeah, so I put together kind of a draft memo. We reviewed this with the chair and the vice chair just to kind of get some initial comments. So this is the draft memo that we had that I put together based on the discussion that we had. It sounds like we'll have a couple of modifications here. I think item 1, we had incorporated Mr. Connolly's comment about the gable end slope of the proposed screening while matching the existing. I think based on the comments that we heard from the team representing the water utility, that moving that gable end is going to expose more of the elements. So it sounds like that would be eliminated. Is that correct in my assessment?
Well, I think if the proposed tanks could be painted, a charcoal gray or brown or something.
I'm talking about this end, Kathleen.
Which one? Which end?
Yes.
This here.
That. Right.
Lining these peaks. That's what that comment is referring to.
But I thought we were talking before we get to that about eliminating that whole back screen.
Right. The false wall.
Right, the false wall, the gable end. If everyone in agreement with that.
Yeah, I guess there's agreement. Is there agreement with that?
But I think it hinges on whether the tanks will not be white. They can be painted.
yeah, we don't see the problem with that, certainly.
Okay.
I mean, we've had the good success with rooftop equipment and things like that with painting with charcoal gray. So you initially notice them and then you forget about them. So
Right. Okay, so Graham, I think we should eliminate number 1. Right. Are you doing that already? Okay. Here you go.
Live.
Great. And then great. Thank you.
And then we said with a fence atop the
Yeah.
6-foot wall.
Aluminum fence.
But you want it on that side behind the existing building? Is it doing any screening if it's an estate fence?
On the south side?
What? Which side?
If
Could
you're
you go
looking
back?
from North Mountain Avenue, I would say the west side.
Yeah, so that's my question. So essentially here, what we're talking about is eliminating this wall, eliminating this, and in its place, I can draw this out. Sorry for my not great.
You're doing a great job, Grant.
You're doing a great job.
So having the
Cool.
fence go like this across the facade, and it would be an aluminum.
No, why do you need any fence at all?
Yeah, why do you need any
I
fence?
think so.
No fence.
No.
Okay,
No fence.
that's what I'm trying to clarify.
Yeah, so just on the sides and the back.
Just
So the
on back
fence-
where the black is, right.
Okay.
It's at the top.
Yeah.
So
For
then,
your security fencing,
we'll say this.
right?
Do we need the wall to go all the way around, or can we just have Just, I guess just fencing on the backside, or you want the wall all the way around? The railroad side?
For the wall.
What?
Yeah, so I guess this
No.
is the question. So there's two returns of the wall. This one adjacent to the parking lot. This is where the walkway up to the train is.
Yeah, so that'll be a brick wall with estate fencing on top.
We do a brick wall here and then the estate fencing on top of that.
Well, how high would that be? Do you need that estate fencing up there?
It's not there for security.
I don't know what estate fencing is. What does that mean?
It's that aluminum.
Looks like
You know,
wrought
the
iron,
ones
but it's
with-
aluminum.
Well, I think the idea with the fencing is still to provide screening, but for it to not look like a building. So it would be,
Right.
yeah, similar to what you see there with screening in it, kind of what they've rendered for that low fence. We just don't want it to look like a building because it's not going to look like a building.
So it should look like a
Right.
fence, and then there should be more plantings screening
Right.
it.
Yes.
Right.
Okay, so I just want to ascertain whether do you have sufficient space? I think that's part of the issue. There's not sufficient space here on this side of the wall. This is the property line. So there's no space for planting adjacent to the station.
Correct.
Oh, okay, well, okay.
In this area.
Graham, the concept at that point, yeah, was to align that new wall with the existing low
Oh, with
wall.
here? If you
So
could
I
turn
don't know.
that back.
I don't know if that how important that is anymore. You know, I mean, Rob, it's going to boil down to what kind of clearances you need to the tank.
Yeah, that's the key question. What's the clearance that you need set off the tank?
About 3 feet every side.
So 3 feet. So do we have a
Right,
dimension?
so we're
on
about
this?
5. Yeah, we're about 5'1", I think, off of that. So we
you
could bring it in a
bring
little
this
bit.
in 2 feet and then incorporate screening here, landscaping.
Yeah.
I don't think you have room for something to grow out. You'll be out into the driveway.
Yeah, this is a driveway here.
And the walkway to the stairs up to the track.
Well, maybe the low wall there would make sense.
So there is a low wall proposed. The
There's a
6
long-
foot wall's proposed.
Right.
Right.
But so
And
there'd be
what
no
else?
screening of these. What's the height of the tanks again?
Oh, God.
They're
25 feet or something?
at least 20 feet, yeah.
20 feet tall. So, if you're standing here at the station, you'd see the 6 foot wall would screen part of it, but then the tank would stick up.
Right.
On the drawings, it says
Tanks
that
are-
stone wall is 6 feet high on their
Yeah.
drawing. So I would propose to put a brick wall there, same height, and then put a fence on top of it.
And would that be a public fence or it would be that estate fence like we had discussed?
Yeah.
And then,
And how high?
I guess what are the security needs? How high? What's the security need for the
8
fence?
feet. 8 feet was what we were looking for.
8 feet is all you need. So 6 foot wall. So then all you need is a 2 foot fence atop that, but it could be taller.
make it a 6-foot fence.
Well, you had your
You got a
old
6-foot fence, right?
at that location.
6 foot's too big.
You think?
Yeah, either 4, you wanted less height. I would go higher with the brick wall than.
So 6 and 4.
Right.
6 and 4.
And what do we do about the eastern property line next to the tracks? Just bring the estate fence straight across, or we put it on a wall as well?
Estate fence would be fine.
Just an 8 foot, estate fence along the back.
Okay. Okay. And we can plant that out, Rob. We'll have enough room to plant that out?
Yeah.
Wait, the rear fence that goes along the track side, what was the height there?
18.
Well, we need 8. Yeah, 8's all we need.
8.
I don't know. You've got 10 feet on the south side. Or
We'll set it up on a SketchUp and we'll take a look at it.
Great.
Okay, yeah.
We're gonna have a pier there anyway, so.
Okay. So this one is duplicative now. This wood fencing comment is no more. That screening wall comment is not applicable. No. Okay.
Okay. Looks good.
And then the gates and the fence on the north side, they have to be the same height as the one in the back, correct? See, you only have the rear of the proposed tank is to be enclosed with an 8-foot aluminum estate fence.
Okay.
Yeah. The gates will be
But
8
it
feet
should be
high.
the east, the north, and the west should all be the same height.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Yes.
The remainder of the proposed. Okay.
Okay.
Great, that looks good. And
I think that we will need a comment, like kind of an opening comment about the commission finds that the screening wall as presented will we need an opening statement as to why we're eliminating the screening wall. Did you have that in your memo, Tom?
No, I didn't. It's just one of me as we were looking at it when I saw the rendering.
Right, so we will need an opening statement just to justify why the commission is proposing that the screening wall be eliminated. You know, and I think that this is going to be a little bit difficult given that the neighbors across North Mountain Avenue, they had asked for. So, you know, the water utility is going to be kind of dealing with some competing interests here. So that's why I think it's important for the commission to provide that justification statement as to why they're making that case.
Yeah, no, Gary Abzarni, he met with some of the neighbors that had concerns, which is why all that screening is proposed on North Mountain. Those plantings were at their request.
Okay.
I don't know exactly what he promised them in terms of a screening wall or what they're expecting.
Right. Mm-hmm. Yeah, so I mean, the commission here is, you know, you're welcome to present, you know, your own independent report, obviously, but, you know, just be cognizant that we should, you know, provide some of that justification as to.
right, a rationale as to why we want to eliminate it. Right.
Well,
So, Tom, why do we want to?
I'll work on it tonight and get you something in the morning.
Okay.
Okay. Great.
I'll email that to Graham and Kathleen, and I guess you can send it out to everybody else, or.
Yeah. Sure.
Yep.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay, great. Thank you.
All right.
Thank you.
All right. Well, thank you to Bill and Rob. Hopefully this worked out well.
Yes, thank you.
Yes.
Okay.
Great. Thank you.
Yeah, just so the commission knows, we're going to have to turn this around pretty quickly. The planning board is scheduled to review this at their meeting on Monday. So, Tom, if we can get that comment back, and then I'll run that by Kathleen and Jason and have them sign off on the memo and send a copy to the full commission for reference. So.
All right.
Okay.
It'll be there Monday. So.
It'll be fresh in my mind.
Yes. Okay. All right. Thank you all.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, next up is, here we go. Next up is a section 106 review, Glenridge Avenue improvements, which will take place between Bloomfield going down the hill. And a letter dated April 13th, 2020, from the Department of Economic Development, Training and Employment, states that in accordance with Section 106 of the National Historic Preservation Act, I request your concurrence that the proposed undertaking will have no effect on resources listed in or eligible for inclusion in the National Register of Historic Places. And everybody is aware that the Central Business District, Historic District runs along Bloomfield Avenue. It doesn't come down into Glenridge Avenue, but we've been asked to comment on this because of the line of sight from Bloomfield Avenue. So what they're proposing to do, Graham, is anybody here from the county, Graham, or no?
No, no one's here from the county.
Okay, so what they're proposing to do is create a one-way. You can see in yellow, they're going to eliminate, they're going to change the direction. So create a one-way going to the east. And then they're eliminating, the proposal is to eliminate the parking spaces there on the north side and pull the sidewalk out. Not all the way from the intersection of Bloomfield Avenue, but from where there's a, I guess there's a driveway there.
There's a driveway here, yes.
Right, so Graham has that right there. So they're proposing to pull that sidewalk out, I believe, 6 feet, correct?
Yeah, it looks like it's a 4.3 feet that the sidewalk moves out.
Okay.
I guess 4 feet that the sidewalk moves out. It's a new the yellow stripe here is a new 4-foot section of sidewalk.
Right.
And what they're doing is there's a brick paver portion of the sidewalk that's 4 feet wide that spans the length. They're going to reset those brick pavers out in the 4-foot section against the new curb and then infill with concrete, a new concrete section.
Mm-hmm.
Great.
So,
Yeah, to widen this
Like
area
that.
of Glenridge Avenue for all the businesses on this portion of the street.
How do I
Okay.
get to my vet?
I know. So before we open up for discussion, Mr. Conley has written has comments.
No,
And
there was no comment. There was
no comment because he deemed no impact to the abutting properties along Glenridge Avenue.
Mhm.
So, Graham, maybe you could put up the memo that was generated.
Yeah, so I drafted a draft letter back to the county for our response. The only comment that we had, we again reviewed this with the chair and vice chair in advance of the meeting just to kind of get oriented to the project. The only comment that we had, a request that we had, is that any and all trees to be removed on the north side as part of the sidewalk widening should be replaced in that section of the sidewalk. I believe there's about 4 trees that are along that side of the sidewalk, so that side of the street.
Right. Okay, do we have any comments? Caroline, do you have any comments on this project, on this?
They're removing parking spaces. I mean, it's not our.
Yeah.
Why would they be doing that?
Because down here, that's going to be
This will be the Midtown parking garage here.
deck.
All right, and okay, well, it has no impact on.
Or historic.
Structures,
No,
an historic structure. Okay, Mr. Rooney.
No problems.
Okay, Mr. Hyman, do you have any comment?
No comment.
No? Okay, and Mr. Greenbaum?
I just want to ask if it's definitively confirmed that the flow of traffic, in fact, has been officially changed. Because I recall at the presentation the county made where that was proposed, there was a great deal of resistance and concern that certain things hadn't been considered. So I'm just wondering, is there anyone here who could speak to if that's actually a done deal?
I can't speak to that factually. This is a request to review this that we received from Essex County. I don't know where the proposal stands. They asked the HPC to review for any impacts to the historic district.
Okay.
Do you see any impact to the historic district, Davey, with the change of traffic flow?
I mean, I don't think it impacts the historic district from an aesthetic point of view, but I do think from a circulation point of view, at the time that this plan was presented from the county consultants, and I don't know how many of us were present there, but I recall we weren't even aware of the potential of the Lackawanna project being changed and developed from the beginning. So there was a tremendous degree of response. I remember there was a tremendous reaction to the flow of Glenridge Avenue, and I didn't know if that was going to go ahead. So that's why I was a little surprised to see this.
Well, we've been asked to comment on what impact it has on the historic district and the adjoining historic structures. So
I have
do you-
no issue. I have no issue from that point of view.
Okay.
okay, all right, that's great.
Graham,
So do you have that? Here we go. It's up. So is everyone in agreement with this, what Graham has put together as a response to the county? Is this to, right?
Graham,
You
I
have
did,
a chance to read it?
Graham, I did have a question though. I thought this one block section of Glen Ridge Avenue was in the district, no?
It is in the district, yes.
Oh, all right. It goes down to.
The district is split. It stops at the
Right.
church.
Right.
Right. So,
It's right
yeah,
on
Not
that.
quite to the street.
It's partially
Right.
within the district. The district ends right. I can show you.
There.
The district ends right here.
right.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Okay, so we're all in agreement with the letter that's going to be sent out then.
Sure.
Very good.
Okay,
That's good.
thank you. Moving ahead, the certificates that we reviewed last month, which were appeals. Has everyone had a chance to read? Okay, so the one thing that you've got, wait, go up to the whereas. Okay, so Graham corrected, if you
Mhm.
printed it out, it's the Historic Preservation Commission, not the Minor Application Committee.
Mhm.
Those have been corrected on both. The only thing that, and Graham has, I guess, explained it sufficiently on the second one, Boca Life Cafe, Boho Salon, about the scope of work. About the conditions.
Mhm.
Because I had a concern about the awning, the color, and the soft skirt, but I guess that's not an issue. So, Mr. Hyman, do we have any discussion on either, on the first one, the green room?
Well, this is the Boca Life one that we'll use first. So.
Which is Boca, sorry, I have it stapled differently. Okay. So everyone had a chance to read it?
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so Mr. Hyman, do you want to move forward with a motion to, or vote on this?
I make a motion to, well, actually, no, because someone who voted in favor of these should.
So yeah, procedurally,
Yeah.
we took a pre-motion to discuss the awning color, and then there was a final motion to approve the application, and everyone voted yes. It was unanimous. So everyone is eligible on this application.
Okay. All right. I move to approve the resolution as drafted.
Second,
Okay.
Mr. Rooney?
Second.
Okay.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Okay.
And the next one is the green room. Okay, and again,
Whereas this.
right. And,
These are the conditions that were contained in the minutes that we reviewed at the top of the meeting as well.
Right.
right, so these are the same ones.
Right.
Mhm.
Right.
Okay. Any discussion about this?
No.
All right. So, Mr. Hyman, do you want to create a motion to accept this one?
Graham, what was the vote on this one?
This was unanimous as well. Mhm.
I move to adopt as approved as drafted.
Okay. Second?
I, second, Caroline.
Okay.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, thank you.
Aye.
Thank you.
So, okay, that is the last of our items, and we will adjourn. Our next meeting will be July 23rd, and it will again be this format, a Zoom format. So Thank you for attending. Good luck to Graham.
Thank you.
And we look forward to hearing all about it at the next meeting.
I'll be sure to
Pictures.
share how things go. So.
Okay. All right. Thank you, everyone.
Okay.
First, we need a
Thank you.
motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Second? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay. Thank you
Okay.
very much. Good night,
Thank you all.
everyone.
Thank you.
Good night, everybody.
Good night.
Bye.